So I've tried to figure out a nickname for this ship, but nothing creative does come to my mind, at least now. I just call this thing the floating brick for the time being, because this might very well be one of my tankiest battleships of all time. Maybe the Hyperion does kind of outperform it with the quad armor repairs, but resistance wise, I don't think I've had anything as tanky as this. Now, I I bought a Raven Navy, which I'll be using with a slightly different build. The Raven Navy will be very similar to my other PvP battleships build-wise. Basically, it will be mostly for DPS, but since it is a navy, it has a lot of default tank attached to it from the very beginning. So I'll show that ship another time, since I'm still kind of working on some skills, since expert skills do take a while to complete. Now, I did promise to change the builds, and basically I wanted to change the integration rigs on the Tempest Navy. I did do that, and I have improved the tank a little bit. Of course, there is still room for improvement, and let me show you what I'm talking about here. So 324,000 overall hit points. This is the cold value in the station: 74, 77, 80, and 78%. Now, occasionally I swap the reactive hardener for another adaptive hardener. Although I personally like to use the reactive hardener because it really helps a lot against drones, lasers, and railguns, which are very common, and they also do a lot of DPS. Now, let me undock real quick and let me show you the active stats. Now, on paper from the station, you can't really see the improvements. The improvement is visible when I make all of the modules active. Alright, everything is turned on. Now, 74,000 hit points, 92, 92, 94, and 94% resistances. So now the tank is a bit more evened out, which was kind of my goal, but there's of course still a room for improvement. I can theoretically change one more integration. The integrations on this thing are quite expensive, so that's that is something that I have to mention as well. But if I change one more integration, I might be able to get about 90, 93, 94, 93, 94, 95, and 95%. And this is with the current C-type build that I have. Now, my endgame goal for this ship would be to get A-types and B-types, which should enhance the overall tank by a further 2 to 3%. So we're looking at a theoretical tank of 95, 96, or 97%, 97%, 98, and 98. This is without the damage control active. And of course, with the damage control active, the stats will be significantly increased. 3.3 million total hit points, 98, 98, 99, and 99% resistances. So if I were to go with my plan for this ship and change the integrations one more time, or a couple more times actually, I might be able to get all on 99 and 100% basically. 99 or 100%. When it's on 100%, it's not really 100%. That's just how the game calculates it, because it's 99.9999, and that's and the game just rounds it up at 100. So it's not really 100%, but it's rounded up at 100. So that would be the theoretical tank that I might be able to get out of the Tempest Navy. Now you can also use a adaptive shield hardener instead of the reactive, although 4 of them might be overkill, but in some cases having 4 of them is actually not a bad idea. Let me quickly just swap the damage control into another one that doesn't have the cooldown, so that I can immediately turn it on when I undock. So, let's take a look at the stats with the 4th adaptive shield hardener. 736,000 hit points, 92, 93, 94 and 93, which is slightly different. It's different, definitely. Has a hole on EM, although can you really call it a hole? Only 1% difference from the rest, so yeah. And with damage control active, it has about 3.4 million hit points, 98, 98, 99 and 99%, which again is really good. Now I also thought about a full brick build. Well, I say full brick build, full on resistance tank. And this is not something that I personally would use on this ship unless I have a logistic. I prefer this to have a shield booster. As mentioned in one of the last videos, the shield booster kind of imitates the passive shield recovery of the Vargur, so it is kind of imagined to be a passively tanked ship. But you know, it's not exactly passive tank, so and there is this build, quad adaptives and 1 reactive, as well as the damage total. I'm not really sure what would be the purpose of a build like this. Maybe it has a purpose, maybe not, I don't know. I personally would not use it because I just prefer to have that one shield booster, because I think it's kind of, you know, more natural to have something like that on your ship. However, the tank is kind of funny now, 92, 93, 94, 94%. So this is the cold value. Well, the cold value is when the adaptive hardeners and reactive hardener is enabled, and this goes up to 98, 97% when you're fighting with a ship that has the lasers, railguns or drones. And with the damage control active, the tank is 3.6 million, 98, 99, 99 and 99% resistances, which is, you know, as close to immortality as you can get. So that's basically what I have on this ship, and that's the build. These are the stats that we can get with the current build. As mentioned before, this will be improved and will be increased even more. My goal is to try and get 100%, which is kind of difficult. It is not impossible though. I've seen some ships that have 100% resistance. I managed to get that on the test server, but this is not a test server, and I kind of want to replicate that on the live one. Would be a very interesting ship for PvP for sure. Now, doesn't mean that it doesn't have any drawbacks. The main drawback is its speed. This thing is, well, it's slow, and with a build like this, you really have to rely on your team to web stuff, because you alone, you have tank, but ships will be running away because you are not going to have enough speed to catch them. So, well, you could have some very nice DPS, and since we're talking about the DPS part, let me show you the DPS. It has some decent DPS, fantastic tank, but with this build, the speed of the ship will definitely be kind of, well, kind of not that good. So, let me stop the ship, siege mode active, and barrage engaged. And you get about 3,894.56 DPS, which honestly is pretty good considering the fact that you have a crazy tank, and this is definitely not built to be a DPS ship, but built to be a heavy tank, bait, and, you know, bait ship to crash gate camps, or even to be used for camping. The Raven Navy will have a slightly different purpose, and I think that's the next ship that I'll show you next time. But we'll see. Maybe I mean, I think I'll wait until my skills are ready for the Raven Navy. But with that being said, time to have some fun and let's blow up some ships. I miss flying my Hyperion. That thing was the tankiest active armored tank battleship at the time. I even have the Burning Knight nanocore, which is kinda rare. It is a event nanocore that does give you about 25 to 50% extra armor repair. On top of that, I even had really expensive integrations for the Hyperion, all focused on armor repair. Was able to recover full armor in like 2 cycles, which was kinda wild. And it was able to do that for about 10 minutes, which was kind of unheard of around that time. That was before implants and before the general units, and you know, before things like that. Now the first target for today will be a Raven Striker. The Raven Striker alongside the Raven Navy is also pretty tanky, very good shield tanks. And as mentioned on the start of this video, the Tempest fleet with this build is good, but it has some drawbacks. The main drawback is speed. You really have to rely on your team to hold the targets, and you also have to rely on your team to stay alive long enough until you actually get within range. Now, the Raven Striker has immediately attacked our bubble, and the bubble is usually tanky, but today the bubble ship wasn't built for tanking, was built for DPS. So in order to prevent the bubble from exploding, they decided to burn out. Now the Raven Striker is tackled by the interceptor. I'm slowly approaching. I'm doing some damage along the way. 23 kilometers from the battleship. Usually the Raven class battleships are passively tanked. If it is a PvE Raven or Raven Navy or even the Raven Striker, then it will have a active shield tank. A PvP Raven Navy and Raven Striker are usually glass, or they have a very similar build to what I use on my Macariel. It's only the only difference would be the shield tank. My Macariel is a armor tank, but overall the Raven Striker is, generally speaking, a very nice ship. Not really a fan of its damage application. Its damage application is not really that good against sub-cabals, but it is pretty solid against big ships like carriers, dreadnoughts, supercarriers and things like that. Now I'm finally within range, and the Raven has been scrambled, has been webbed, but my ridiculous tank is, well, I don't need to say anything. They are not doing any damage to my shield. 98% damaged. 98% of my shield at 97%. With every hit they reduce about 0.5% of my shield. So yeah, this thing is a brick, that's for sure. Now I wanted to test out to see if my siege can hit, and unfortunately it seems like my siege mode can't really do much. I mean, it would do much if the Raven was moving. Not really sure why it didn't hit. Usually it does hit, but for some reason it didn't hit this time, which is fine. Now the Raven stopped shooting at me, which means that they are about to prepare and jump through the gate. And if the ship had a afterburner or a micro warp drive, I would be able to ram them away from the gate. But unfortunately, I don't have any propulsion module, which is to be expected since this ship is full chunk. Well, I mean, it has to be full chunk when you have people throwing super capitals at you. Has to be able to survive a super capital, so has to be chunk. I actually didn't believe that anyone would bother to drop a super capital on a battleship. I thought that was reserved for the revelation. Well, I guess not. And the Raven has jumped after some time, which is fine. I'm very happy with my tank on this thing. It is ridiculously tanky. Next, we have an Ashimo. Now, I already talked about the super capital. That's, well, there's not one super capital, but a bunch of them. There is a bunch of super capitals all around this system. Well, I say all around this system, not exactly around this system, but they're within jumping range, and I know that I can expect super capitals even if I'm flying a battleship. I thought that a battleship wouldn't be worth to, you know, I thought that battleships are not really worth for super capitals. I didn't expect to get a super capital dropped on me on this gate if I'm flying a battleship, but since apparently that's wrong what I said, and I can expect super capitals, so yeah, we have to play much smarter than before, and I'm totally fine with that. Now, this Ashimo is still floating around, very close to me, very within the web and scrambler range, and my friend rammed the Ashimo. That was a fantastic ram. Now, I'm thinking, if this is a bait, we can technically kill it, because there's one neutral in local. There's one neutral that is not docked. There's somewhere in space, we don't know where. If someone is in space like that, and so there is no signature, there is no, there's nothing that can point towards what they're flying, we just assume it's a Sino ship. So, if it's a Sino, and that would be kind of a elaborate thing to use a Ashimo as bait, since it's a faction ship, and kind of a interesting in a smart bait in a way, if it is a bait, of course. If it is a bait, it's a smart one, since an Ashimo is kind of a cruiser, and technically, if you build the Ashimo in such a way, you can survive quite a bit of damage. Although, at the same time, it is also not a obvious bait, which also is kind of smart. So the idea is to blow up the Ashimo, and if there's a Sino, to just warp out. Basically, we have to time the bubble, and we have to time the Ashimo's destruction so that we can escape while the Sino is up, since there is a delay between the Sino being open and between the super capital jumping in. Now, last time it was one super capital and I think 3 dreadnoughts. Maybe it will be more super capital now, since apparently one super capital isn't enough for a Tempest fleet. And I'm still working on making the tank even more broken. So I actually have to go on the test server to see how long would it take for a single super capital to delete a Navy Tempest with the damage control active and with a build like this. I'm very curious to see how long it will last, since technically 99% resistance should mean that you will be able to hold for the next 30 seconds easily, since that's 99 damage reduced, and if it doesn't matter how much DPS you have. Okay, bubble is down. Time to see what happens. Scrambled, webbed, siege is off. It missed for some reason the first time it missed. Barrage is on. First hit, there is no Sino yet. Ashimo in armor. The moment of truth, well, okay, this doesn't feel like a bait. And yeah, 3 hits from my big turrets, and the Ashimo has been issued 1.8 billion, and no Sino opened. Okay, that's interesting. So it wasn't a bait. Okay, we'll know that for next time, I guess. Although it was a very, very weird situation. Next, we have a rattlesnake. Now this is more likely to be a bait, although I don't see any hardeners active. Last time, when I looked at the apocalypse, at the bait apocalypse, I could see the hardeners active, and usually a bait ship will have hardeners on while they're landing, so kind of can see if it is a bait or not. So And this one doesn't really look like a bait. They're taking some shield damage, and they are not moving towards the gate anymore. Yeah, let's... Well, I guess yeet it is. Let me see. Why is my ship moving? Let's stop this. Yeah, let's stop the ship. Let's open fire, barrage engaged, and let's see what happens. Is there going to be a open sino? That's the question. Although apparently this rattlesnake doesn't seem to be a very good tank for some reason. Usually the rattlesnakes are quite tough to crack. Well then, no sign open yet, and the rattlesnake is in armor. I think it's safe to assume that this is not a bait. Yeah, this is definitely not a bait, or perhaps the bait tactics have evolved and now they use glass ships for that. I have no idea. I'm not really following much on that. The rattlesnake is now into hull. I'm doing some good damage now. I like that. That was the last shell of the barrage implant, and that was enough to kill the rattlesnake. That was a sweet target. Let's return to the gate. I actually have an idea on how I could avoid the... What kinda build is this? Oh no. You gotta be kidding me. Oh my god. Yep, this is nope, not today. Nah, that's enough cursed for a whole week. Alright, joke aside, let's go to the next target. Now the Celos has received some new toys. Basically, I'm working on giving the Celos some B types and A types. Right now it has one B type, and for C types, or was it for A types and one B? I have no idea. I don't know what I did with this ship, but I did some very silly things with it. The target for the Celos is a Gila, but the Gila was in a very awkward position. Had to warp to the anomaly and then warping to the mission, basically, since they have burned out when I jumped in the system, and looks like the Gila isn't here. They warped out. Now there is no way that they could see me scan. My scanner is really good, and the Aster that I use for scanning is also really good, so I don't think that the Gila saw me. I think the Gila saw me in local and they recognized me and they warped out. Now I have two options here. I can wait and basically camp for a moment to see if the Gila comes back, or I can dock and basically wait for a while. The thing that I did, I docked, took the Astra, waited for a while, the Gila returned, and now I am returning with the Celos. The Gila warped at 0. They were right on 0. Now I believe the Gila is a kite. They did seem like they have a micro warp drift. They were quite fast. Although it is still a Gila, and I don't think a Gila will be faster than a Celos. After all, this is a angel ship. They're quite fast. They're quick. They're quick little cruisers. Okay, there's the Gila. Has Mark 7 drones. Okay, I didn't even see the drones when I was scouting the first time. And yes, they're using a micro warp drift. Although I surprised them, and that basically bought me enough time to approach. Micro warp drift is off. Gyro stabilizers engaged, battery mode also on, and the barrage implant is also on. Now this thing spits out some very nasty DPS. It does look like the Gila has some tank. After all, it is a very tanky cruiser, but the Celos just goes through that like a hot knife through butter, because that's just what the Celos does. This is a very nasty ship, and they're not doing too much damage to me, which is a good thing. They are now in hull. And the Gila has been destroyed. Nice. Let's take a look at the wreck. Well, not bad loot, I'll take it. I didn't take much damage from the Gila. The damage from total activation time of about 18 seconds is really nice. And this thing has like 30,000 in shield on top of that, so This thing is actually, when you think about it, quite a tank beast. It has so much shield. I really have to find one of the new shield generators. I would definitely use that on this thing. Would be a very nice pass tank. 869 million is not bad. And a golden nanocore. Nice. That's the price for this skill. The golden nanocore is always nice to see. Next we have a Macariel back in the Tempest Navy. Now usually when I was using a battleship, usually I was the one to weapon and hold the target. That was a long time ago though. Now I'm relying on my friends to do that, because I'm usually the brick tank, because I'm usually the primary target. So if I'm the primary target, then I might as well make the ship ridiculously hard to kill. Now here we had a little miscalculation. My friend wasn't really orbiting at the right distance, and the Macariel seems to have a micro warp drift. They are burning out towards the gate. And it took a while for me to realize that. It took a while for all of us to actually realize that. And yeah, they jumped. Which is a missed target. It was kind of unfortunate that they escaped, but it's fine. Happens sometimes, mistakes do occur, but nonetheless. Just one of the examples on why speed is sometimes a lot more important than tank. Now this is a Cinnabon. This Cinnabon warped in. This is a PvP build. Cinnabon has a large extender, and based on the amount of shield that they have received with the extender, I would say that's a very good extender, and probably a general unit on top of it. And of course they also have a damage control. But I have a lot of alpha damage. This is after all a large ship with large cannons, and large cannons tend to do a bit more damage than medium ones. Well, I say a bit more damage, a lot more damage. And the Cinnabon has been destroyed. Now this wasn't just any Cinnabon. This Cinnabon had tasty B-type modules. This is basically where I got one of my B-type modules on the cells. The Cinnabon dropped them, and well, 3 items. I'm not going to say no to that. 2 B-types dropped. Yeah, this was a expensive PvP Cinnabon. 2.4 billion. Not bad. Nice. Wonder how my cells costs. Probably a lot, because of the new modules that I added to it. Now, next start, we have a cover tops coming in. A cover tops cruiser. Celestis 3 cover tops, which could mean 2 things. Either something built with dampeners, which is used against it is used in anti-capital fleet. It is used in capital ship killer fleets, because they can easily just make your lock completely crippled and completely useless. Or it is a Sino prepared for us. Now, based on what I'm seeing here, it doesn't look like they are opening us out. They're aligning towards the gate, so definitely not a Sino ship, but we will find that out very soon, I guess. There goes the Celestis. Nice couple hits, and that ship got wrecked. Let's take a look at the kill. 812 million and small turrets. Interesting. So yeah, this was built with dampeners in mind, probably also using the implant and general unit to make the ship even more broken. So yeah, that was a good kill. Next we have a very rare ship coming in, a Venture 4. Usually I don't include industrial ships in the compilation, because, you know, industrial ships are industrial ships. I prefer to shoot combat ships, but sometimes when you get the chance to shoot at something rare, then I definitely would include that. After all, a Venture 4 is quite a rare ship to see nowadays. Very, very similar to how some of the other industrial ships are also rare. For example, the jump freighters and and similar. Now this Venture 4 seems to be holding Cloak, which is the smart thing to do. Usually the Venture 4 does come with a cloak, although at the moment they don't have any bonus on any cloaking device, so that's one thing that the developers will definitely improve in the next couple updates, I believe. I mean, they added so many new ships lately. There is going to be some new industrial ships for sure, and they will be able to cloak. I believe that there is going to be a cloaky Venture at one point. Endurance or the other one definitely will be added, and that will be fun. Because they will be, I mean, in Cobalt Edge, Ventures are currently being used in Cobalt Edge, where you can mine the new gas and new materials. Very interesting. Now we have a Daredevil. The Venture escaped, by the way. They cloaked and a rebel missed the location. They warped out. The Daredevil also almost got killed. They barely escaped, actually. One more hit and they would be destroyed. Only if I had a couple more seconds to lock them on. And the next target is a Industrial Wraith 2. Every time I click on record, actually no, every time I don't record a not industrial ship, but every time I don't record when we're shooting at a hauler or a transport ship, it ends up being something ridiculous expensive. So I decided to record every single one, because that way I can't miss expensive kills. Not really sure if you guys saw the 25 billion hauler that we killed a long time ago. I think that one got recorded. Not really sure. But in any case, that was a nice catch. I didn't get a kill, but that's fine. And there is this cyclone, a blue cyclone that's creeping around. If they try to still loot, this cyclone would be sent to Yita very quickly. A 1 billion ISK Wrath 2 kill. They did carry some stuff. Not bad. Could be more, but I am definitely not going to complain about that. So that was that would be it for today, I believe. Overall, it was fun. We could have had a bit more kills, but you know, it happens. This is just how the Tempest fleet works. You can't really have a ship that has everything combined into it. I can add a micrograph easily, but that would sacrifice a bit of my tank, and I kind of really like how much resistance this thing has, so right now using an afterburner might not be on my list, but maybe I will develop a build that allows me to use a afterburner or micrograph on this thing. We'll see. There's definitely possibility for me to change the build down the road. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.